Before wealth comes into your hands, heaven always sends a sign. Most people miss it. They grow restless, they grow afraid, and they give up just before the floodgates open. But I tell you, if you see these signs, your good is already at the door. Watch, and you will not fail to receive. In this message, I will reveal the unmistakable signs that wealth is near. You will learn why life often looks most difficult just before the miracle. You will see how to recognize the signals of supply, how to hold your ground when appearances scream otherwise, and how to walk with confidence until the money is in your hand. This is not guesswork. This is law. The same signs have preceded wealth for countless others, and they will appear for you. And when you understand them, you will no longer fear, delay, you will rejoice, knowing that your demonstration is at the door. Perhaps you have spoken affirmations for prosperity and wondered why nothing seemed to change. Perhaps you have felt the very opposite losses, delays, strange setbacks just when you thought supply was about to come. Most people grow discouraged and stop speaking their word. They say, "It did not work." But I tell you, those very disturbances were often the signs that the old was breaking up and the new was ready to appear. Spirit never withholds. Spirit never delays. The law is always working, but few recognize the signs. That is why I am teaching you today. If you know how to read them, you will never again doubt in the dark. In this lesson, I will show you the signs that appear just before wealth manifests. I will tell you why resistance rises when your good is near, and how to turn that resistance into proof of your blessing. I will share stories of those who nearly lost heart but recognized the signs and received abundance in perfect ways. I will show you how gratitude, non-resistance, and expectancy transform what looks like disaster into delivery. And I will give you the exact affirmations to speak when the signs appear, so that nothing can stop your wealth from flowing. Stay with me, for one of these signs may already be at work in your life, and by the end of this teaching, you will know whether you stand at the very threshold of your million. And when you see it, you will not turn back, you will walk straight through the open door. Now, here's something most people completely miss. Before wealth appears, before the demonstration breaks through, before the harvest is in your hands, there is often a shaking, a breaking, a disruption. The old begins to fall apart, and appearances seem to grow worse. Most grow frightened at this point. They see doors closing, friendships dissolving, possessions slipping away, and they cry out, "Why is everything falling to pieces? Where is my blessing?" But I tell you, this is the very sign that your wealth is at the door. The old shell must crack before the new life can emerge. The storm must come before the calm. The ground must shake before the harvest springs forth. Think of it this way. You cannot pour new wine into old bottles. You cannot build a palace on a rotten foundation. You cannot step into your million while still clinging to the patterns of lack that held you bound. And so, Spirit begins to clear the way. Old conditions collapse. Outworn possessions vanish. Relationships not meant for your highest good drift away. And while the reasoning mind cries, "Loss," the spirit within whispers, "Gain." For the law of disruption is not destruction, it is preparation. I remember a student who came to me after losing nearly everything. Her home, her savings, her comfort, all seemed to vanish at once. She was brokenhearted and said, "Why has God forsaken me?" I answered, "God has not forsaken you. God is sweeping the old from your path to make room for abundance. Man's extremity is God's opportunity. What looks like ruin is the very soil in which your new wealth will spring." She began to speak the word, "God is my supply. Nothing is lost in divine mind. What is mine by divine right will return multiplied." Within months, new channels opened, unexpected money flowed, and she received abundance greater than what she had lost. Her breakdown had been her breakthrough. Why does this happen? Because the subconscious holds old records. It clings to the familiar, even when the familiar is lack, so the law shakes it loose. The disruption is the erasing of those records. The collapse is the clearing of the ground. It is the pruning of the branch before greater fruit appears. The Spirit knows what must go. The Spirit knows what must stay. And if you will only trust, you will see that nothing real is ever lost. What departs was never truly yours. What remains and what arrives is yours forever. Let me ask you, have you seen this sign in your own life? Have you prayed for abundance, spoken affirmations of supply, and then suddenly found yourself in turmoil? Did bills increase, jobs shift, friendships strain? Did it look as though heaven had ignored you? That is the law of disruption at work. That is the shaking before the blessing. That is the proof that your prayer is alive, your word is working, your demonstration is already underway. Here's how to walk through it. When disruption comes, do not resist, do not complain. Do not cling. Speak the word of truth. Say, I rejoice in this shaking, it proves that my wealth is near. I lose nothing that belongs to me by divine right. What is mine cannot be taken. What departs is replaced by its perfect equivalent. Say it until your fear dissolves into peace. Say it until your heart knows the truth. For when you bless the disruption, you turn it into preparation. When you fight it, you turn it into delay. So remember this law. When the ground shakes, do not run. Stand firm. Speak truth. Rejoice. The shaking is not the end, it is the beginning. It is not destruction, it is construction. It is not loss, it is clearing. And when you see it, you can smile and say, my supply is at hand. And that leads us to the next sign. For often, as the shaking comes, you will see not only the breaking apart of old conditions, but the sudden closing of doors. Doors you thought you needed, doors you thought were essential. And when they close, they leave you bewildered. But in truth, those very closures are the proof that a greater path is opening. And that, beloved, is what we must unfold next. Here's something that often startles people. They speak the word for abundance, they affirm supply, they prepare their ditches, and instead of seeing doors open, the very doors they were leaning on slam shut. A job ends, a business dries up, a relationship that seemed promising suddenly collapses. And the human mind cries out, why, God? I was trusting, I was speaking the word, how could this happen now? But I tell you, the closing of a door is one of the clearest signs that Spirit is redirecting you into the way of your true good. Every closed door is a divine protection. Every locked gate is a whisper from heaven. Not this way, there is something better, you must remember. Spirit never denies without supplying the equivalent or greater. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote again and again, there is no loss in divine mind. When something departs, it is either not yours by divine right, or its cycle in your life has been fulfilled. If you cling to it, you block the new. If you release it, the greater comes. Most people miss this. They see a closed door as punishment, but in truth, it is direction. They call it loss when it is substitution. They see emptiness when it is preparation for fullness. I remember a woman who came to me, her heart set on marrying a man I will call A, B. She prayed, she pleaded, she struggled, determined that he was the one, but his heart was not free, and the union was not divinely ordered. She said, Florence, I cannot be happy without him. I told her, if AB is yours by divine right, nothing can keep him from you. If he is not, you will receive his perfect equivalent. At first, she resisted, but finally, she surrendered. She released him with these words, I let AB go. If he is mine by divine right, he returns. If not, I welcome his equivalent. Not long after, another man appeared free, loving, suited to her in every way. They married and lived in harmony. She later said, had I clung to AB, I would have missed my true mate. The closed door had been her greatest blessing. This is how Spirit works. Doors close to move you to your true path. Jobs end to usher you into better positions. Friendships fade to make way for new companions aligned with your destiny. Opportunities vanish, only to be replaced by larger, richer, more divinely appointed ones. And if you are wise, you will not mourn the closing of a door, but rejoice in it. You will say, this ending is my sign. Something better is already prepared. Let me ask you, have you seen doors close in your life, just as you prayed for increase? Did a job slip away, a client walk off, an arrangement collapse? Do not call it loss, call it a sign. Do not label it defeat, label it direction, for Spirit never withholds. Spirit always supplies, and the door that shut only did so to steer you into the one that is already open, the one that leads to your million. Here's how to respond when a door closes. Do not fight it. Do not beg for it to reopen. Do not rehearse the past. Instead, say with faith, this door shuts, and the better door opens. I lose nothing that is mine. I welcome the greater good now. Speak it until peace enters. Speak it until you no longer grieve. Speak it until you feel the excitement rise. For behind the closed door is the treasure chest waiting. Behind the no is the larger yes. Behind the loss is the gain you have been calling for. So remember, every closed door is a brace. Sign. It is spirit saying, turn this way. It is the law clearing false paths. It is proof that wealth is moving closer, not farther. The only danger is to cling. If you cling, you delay. If you release, you accelerate. And now, let us step even further into the mystery. For not only do doors close, not only does the old fall apart, but often, just before wealth appears, the night seems darkest. Appearances grow heavy, problems increase, fear rises like a storm. And many lose heart at this point, thinking their good has vanished. But in truth, this darkness is the surest sign of all. It is the night before the dawn, the labor before the birth, the final shaking before supply breaks forth. And that is the sign I will unfold for you next. Here is a truth that runs through scripture, through life, through every demonstration I have ever witnessed. The night always comes before the morning. The darkness always precedes the light. And the storm often breaks with the greatest fury just before the calm descends. And so it is with wealth. Just before your demonstration appears, just before supply bursts forth into form, appearances often grow darker than ever. Conditions may seem impossible, bills may increase, friends may vanish, delays may multiply. The human mind cries out, "It is no use, my affirmations have failed, my prayers are unanswered." But I tell you, this very darkness is the surest sign that your good is about to manifest. The shadows grow thickest just before the dawn. Why is this so? Because the old subconscious records must rise and be erased before the new can stand secure. All the old fears, all the old doubts, all the old false beliefs are stirred up by the light of your word. They come to the surface like sediment in water when it is shaken. They demand to be faced, denied, and dissolved. And when you refuse to be frightened, when you stand firm, when you speak the truth in the very face of the storm, the old records are broken, the false patterns erased, and the field is cleared for the harvest. If you could only see with spiritual eyes, you would rejoice in the darkness, for it means your word has gone deep, your demonstration is ripe, and the new is pressing against the veil, ready to be born. I remember many students who came to me in discouragement. One said, "Florence, I have affirmed faithfully, but now things are worse than before. I have lost my job, my money is gone. My friends do not understand me, I feel forsaken." I told her, "Rejoice, this is your sign. The night is always darkest just before dawn. Hold fast to your affirmation. Do not let appearances deceive you." She obeyed. She refused to despair. She continued declaring, "God is my unfailing supply. Large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways." And within a short time, a position opened for her. One far better than the one she had lost, with greater pay, greater joy, and greater opportunity. She looked back and said, "Had I given up in the dark, I would never have seen the light." Do you see, then, how vital it is not to judge by appearances? The human eye sees only the shadows. The spiritual eye knows the dawn is certain. The human ear hears only the storm. The spiritual ear knows the calm is near. The human mind trembles at the seeming disaster. The spirit within whispers, "Peace, be still." This is only the breaking of the shell. So when you face the darkness, do not be moved. Do not say, "My good has failed." Say instead, "This is the sign that my wealth is here. This storm is proof that the new is ready to appear. I walk by faith, not by sight. I stand firm, for I know the dawn is breaking." Speak it until your heart steadies. Speak it until the fear is silenced. Speak it until you can smile in the storm, knowing it is only the labor pains of your demonstration. And remember, dawn never delays. The night cannot last forever. The sun must rise. Your supply must appear. Your word cannot return void. And when it comes, you will look back and say, "That darkness was my greatest proof. That storm was my final sign. I nearly lost heart, but now I see it was the very threshold of my wealth." So take courage. If your life looks darkest now, rejoice. If conditions seem impossible, rejoice. If all appears lost, rejoice. For you are closer than you think, nearer than you imagine, standing at the edge of your breakthrough. And now, having seen how disruption, closed doors, and darkness are not defeats but signs, we must go further. For Spirit does not only send outer signs, Spirit whispers within. And if you can hear those whispers through intuition, through joy, through expectancy, you will know, without a doubt, that your wealth is already at hand. That, beloved, is the next mystery I will open for you. Now, let us turn from the outer shaking to the inner whisper, from the storm that rattles circumstances to the still, small voice that speaks within. For Spirit never leaves you without direction. Before wealth arrives, before the demonstration appears, there comes a signal from the Christ within, a gentle hunch, a sudden knowing, a nudge so quiet that, unless you are alert, you may miss it altogether. And yet this whisper is one of the clearest signs that your supply is already on its way. Most people expect heaven to shout. They want a loud answer, a blinding light, a dramatic sign written across the sky. But Spirit does not shout. Spirit whispers. Spirit leans in softly and says, "Turn here, do this, call that person, take that step." And if you obey without delay, the way opens. If you hesitate, if you reason it away, if you say, "That cannot be God, that is only my imagination," you may miss the very step that leads to your blessing. Intuition is the Christ within guiding you to your good. And the more you listen, the louder it becomes. I remember a story of a woman who was desperate for rent money. The time was short, and by appearances, there was no way. She had prayed, she had spoken affirmations, but still the need pressed. One day, her dog pulled her insistently down a side street she had never walked before. She wanted to resist, but something in her said, "Follow." She obeyed the pull. And there on the ground, in that unfamiliar street, she found the very money she needed. Was that chance? No, it was intuition leading her to her supply. Spirit had whispered through her dog, and because she obeyed, her need was met. That is how it works. Intuition may come as a thought, a feeling, a dream, a sudden picture in your mind, a word from a stranger, a nudge you cannot explain. It may tell you to go somewhere, to call someone, to look again, to act in faith. And when you obey, the door swings open. The whisper always precedes the wealth. The inner sign always comes before the outer demonstration. Now perhaps you say, "But how do I know if it is my intuition or my imagination?" I tell you, if it leads to faith, if it fills you with peace, if it aligns with truth, it is the voice of Spirit. Fear is never intuition. Anxiety is never intuition. Confusion is never intuition. True intuition is calm, clear, direct, and often repeated until you obey. It is the Christ within saying, "This is the way, walk ye in it." Here is what you must do. Train yourself to listen. Begin each day with silence. Ask, "Infinite Spirit, what step shall I take today?" And then listen for the whisper. Do not strain, do not force. Be still, and the word will come. When it does, act at once. Do not reason, do not delay. Immediate obedience is the secret of demonstration. I tell you, wealth does not always come through the channels you expect. It comes through the channel Spirit chooses, and Spirit will always whisper the direction first. The rent may be waiting on a street corner. The opportunity may be hiding in a chance conversation. The job may be waiting in a place you had dismissed. The money may flow from a source you never considered, but you will only find it if you follow the whisper. So, when intuition comes, do not say, "This is too small, this is too strange, this is too simple." Trust it, obey it, and rejoice, for it is the sign that supply is near. The whisper is the proof. The inner voice is the confirmation. And once you have heard the whisper, you will often feel another sign rise within you, one that needs no reason, one that cannot be explained, the sudden lift of joy, the unshakable gladness that wells up in your spirit even before the evidence appears. And that, beloved, is the next inner sign I will reveal to you. Here is a sign so sweet, so simple, that many overlook it, yet it is one of the most certain proofs that wealth is near. Before your good appears, before the supply breaks into sight, there often comes into your heart a sudden gladness, a joy without cause, a lightness that cannot be explained. No check has arrived, no door has opened, no outer evidence has changed, and yet your spirit feels lifted, your heart sings, your step is lighter. That joy is the vibration of your blessing already formed, already complete in the invisible, already pressing toward you. It is faith made feeling. It is heaven's announcement that your good is on its way. The world teaches you to rejoice when you see results. It says, be happy when the money arrives, when the work is given, when the gift is in your hand. But Spirit teaches the opposite. Joy comes first. Joy is the cause, not the result. Joy is the seed, not the harvest. When you feel joy without reason, you are already tuned to abundance. You are vibrating on the frequency of wealth. And as surely as a magnet draws iron, that joy draws good to you. I recall a student who had struggled long with appearances of lack. She prayed, she affirmed, she spoke the word, and then one morning she woke with a gladness so bright she could hardly explain it. She told me, Florence, nothing has changed outwardly, but I feel as though something wonderful is happening. I said to her, that is the sign. Do not question it, rejoice in it, for your supply is already in motion. And within a week, she received an unexpected gift of money, enough to meet her needs with abundance left over. The joy had been the herald, the invisible messenger announcing what was about to arrive. Why does this happen? Because the subconscious mind, once impressed with truth, begins to radiate that truth before it appears outwardly. It is like a room filling with fragrance before the flower is seen. It is like dawn lighting the sky before the sun rises above the horizon. The joy is the light before the sunrise, the fragrance before the blossom, the inner assurance before the demonstration. When you feel it, you can be sure your word has gone forth with power and has been accepted by the law. So when joy rises without cause, do not dismiss it. Do not say, this is only my imagination. Do not let the reasoning mind rob you. Say instead, this joy is my proof. This gladness is my sign. My wealth is at the door. And keep rejoicing. Sing, give thanks, smile at the unseen. For gratitude multiplies, and joy hastens the demonstration. Perhaps you have felt this before. A sudden lift of spirit, a peace that passes understanding, a smile that came unbidden. Did you not notice that soon after, something good happened? That is no accident, that is law. Joy is the language of spirit, and when you speak it with your heart, wealth answers. Now hear me clearly. Joy is not denial of reality. Joy is recognition of truth. You are not pretending when you rejoice before the gift arrives. You are aligning with divine mind, which knows the gift is already yours. You are living in the end. You are walking as though it were finished. And that vibration is irresistible to supply. So take note. If lately you have felt glad without reason, if your heart has lifted while circumstances still look bleak, rejoice. That is your sign. That is your proof. Your supply is already here. And once you know this, you will also discover another inner sign, one that follows joy like a shadow follows light, the rising of expectancy. You begin to sense, something is coming. I cannot explain it, but I know it. That expectancy is not mere hope, it is the vibration of certainty. And that, beloved, is the next sign I will reveal. Now I will show you the final and perhaps the most powerful of the inner signs, the rising of holy expectancy. This is more than joy, though it often comes with joy. This is more than intuition, though it may be born from intuition. Expectancy is that steady, quiet, knowing that something is about to happen, that good is already moving in your direction, that the door is already opening even if your eyes cannot yet see it. It is the invisible pregnancy of demonstration. You cannot explain it to others, for they may look at your life and say, nothing is changing, but within yourself you know, my wealth is at hand. That knowing is the mark of holy expectancy. Here is how it works. Every word you speak in faith impresses the subconscious. Every affirmation is a seed. At first, it may feel distant, abstract, uncertain, but as you repeat the word with authority, as you back it with gratitude, as you refuse to contradict it with fear, there comes a moment when the seed quickens, the soil stirs. The subconscious accepts the impression as fact, and when that happens, expectancy rises. You begin to walk differently. You begin to prepare as though it were already true. You begin to act as though the check were already signed, the door already unlocked, the gift already delivered. This shift in consciousness is the surest sign that wealth is about to break through. I remember a student who longed for an apartment at a time when none were available. By appearances, her situation was hopeless, but she declared daily, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for my right apartment. under grace, in perfect ways. At first, she doubted. At first, she felt she was only repeating words. But then something shifted. She said to me, "Florence, I feel it. I cannot explain why, but I know the apartment is coming." And what did she do? She prepared her ditches. She bought blankets for the bed she did not yet own. She acted as though the apartment were already hers. That act of expectancy sealed her demonstration. Soon she was offered an apartment out of 200 applicants. What appeared impossible was made possible because she expected it. Do you see the difference? Hope says, "I wish it might happen someday." Expectancy says, "It is mine now, it must appear." Hope is fragile, hope falters in delay. Expectancy is steady. Expectancy holds firm even in darkness. Hope waits for proof. Expectancy is proof. It is the inward evidence of things not seen. And the moment you feel it, you know the law has accepted your word, and the manifestation cannot be withheld. Let me ask you, have you ever felt that holy expectancy? That strange certainty that something was coming, even before the phone rang, even before the letter arrived, even before the door opened? That is not imagination. That is spirit telling you your demonstration is ready. Rejoice in it, bless it, guard it, for it is the inner trumpet blast announcing the victory. Now, here is how to cultivate it. When you affirm, do not merely repeat the words. Picture the result as done. Feel the gratitude of already having it. Imagine yourself living in the end. Say aloud, "I give thanks that it is finished." At first, it may feel forced, but as you persist, as you repeat with joy, the subconscious shifts. And one day, perhaps suddenly, you will feel the expectancy rise. You will know without knowing how. You will expect without reason, and from that moment, nothing can keep your good from appearing. So take note, when holy expectancy fills you, you are already rich. The outer wealth is simply catching up. The million is already yours, written in the unseen, sealed by the law. Expectancy is the inner signature of your demonstration. And now, having seen the inner signs, the whisper of intuition, the joy without cause, the holy expectancy, you are ready to recognize the outer signs. For spirit not only speaks within, spirit moves without. Circumstances shift, coincidences align, strange events unfold, all to signal that wealth is near. And those outer signs are what we will uncover next. Now I will show you the first of the outer signs, and it is one that often confuses the reasoning mind. When wealth is about to arrive, something unexpected happens. It is not what you had planned, not what you had calculated, not what you had predicted. It comes from a direction you never imagined, through a channel you did not see. The human mind says, "But that is impossible," yet spirit whispers, "With God all things are possible." This is why I always warn my students, never limit the how, never box in the channel. Never say, "It must come through this person, this business, this job." For spirit has weapons you know not of, instruments beyond your sight, channels hidden from your reason. And when your wealth is ready, the unexpected will happen. I recall a woman who came to me nearly destitute. She had spoken the word, but no door seemed to open. I told her to declare, "I am an irresistible magnet for my good, and my own comes to me." She began to repeat it faithfully, with joy, with expectation. Soon, something entirely unforeseen occurred. A distant relative, who had long forgotten her, reached out with a gift of thousands of dollars. She had not looked in that direction, she had not counted on that person. Yet the money arrived. Why? Because she loosed the how, she did not limit the channel. She simply affirmed the truth, and spirit chose the unexpected path. This is how the law works. If you cling to a specific person or plan, you may choke the channel. You may block the very flow you are calling for. But when you release, when you say, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for my supply through channels of your choosing," then the whole universe becomes your servant. The supply may come through a stranger, through a chance meeting, through a lost object found, through a sudden idea, through a door you never would have thought to knock on. The unexpected is not accident, it is law in action. But here is the test. When the unexpected happens, will you recognize it? Too often people dismiss it because it does not look like what they asked for. They say, "I wanted a job, not a gift. I wanted money, not an idea. I wanted a straight path, not this crooked turn." and so they reject the very sign of their wealth. But the wise know, when the unexpected comes, bless it, rejoice in it, follow it. For it is Spirit's way of bringing your goods swiftly, under grace, in perfect ways. Let me paint it this way. Imagine you are standing at the door of your house, expecting a visitor to arrive by the front gate. You wait, and the visitor does not appear. At last, you hear a knock at the back door. Will you refuse to open it because it was not the entrance you expected? Will you say, "No, I only accept visitors through the front"? That would be foolish. The blessing is knocking open the door. The unexpected is the proof that Spirit is moving, the sign that wealth is nearer than your plan could reach. So when something unusual happens, when a stranger offers help, when a forgotten contact reaches out, when an old skill suddenly becomes useful, when money appears from a source you never imagined, do not dismiss it. Say, "This is my sign. My wealth is on its way." Bless the unexpected, flow with it, and soon you will see that what looks strange at first was simply the shortest path Spirit chose. And once you understand this sign, you will also be ready for another, the opportunities that arrive dressed as obstacles. For Spirit often hides wealth in disguise, and what seems like a problem is only a package holding your blessing. And that, beloved, is the next sign we must unfold together. Now here is a sign that many people stumble over, and because they stumble, they miss their blessing. Spirit often hides wealth inside what looks like trouble. The outer appearance seems negative, unfair, even painful, but hidden within it is the very opening that leads to your abundance. And unless you recognize it, unless you bless it, unless you refuse to be deceived by its mask, you may resist the very opportunity you prayed for. Most people cry out, "Why is this happening to me? Why this lawsuit? Why this delay? Why this loss?" But I tell you, what you call an obstacle may be your miracle in disguise. Let me give you a picture. A woman once came to me in despair over a lawsuit. She was afraid of ruin, certain she would lose. The case consumed her with worry, but I told her, "Do not fear this. Do not resist this. Cast the burden on the Christ within, and declare that the law of harmony governs this situation." What looks like an obstacle may be the very means Spirit uses to release you into freedom. She obeyed. She ceased worrying. She said daily, "I cast this burden on the Christ within, and I go free. Nothing is against me. Everything works together for my good." And what happened? The case dissolved in her favor. Not only that, but the very conflict opened new channels of supply for her that she never would have found had the lawsuit not forced the issue. What she feared most had been the doorway to her blessing. This is how Spirit works. Problems are not sent to destroy you, they are sent to move you. The obstacle is the instrument, the setback is the signal, the delay is the preparation. If you can only bless the so-called problem, if you can only declare, "This is not against me, this is for me," you will soon see that every obstacle carried your opportunity in its hands. Do you see why Jesus said, "Resist not evil"? Resistance feeds the obstacle. It hardens the appearance. But non-resistance blessing, thanksgiving, faith, dissolves the mask and reveals the gift. What you bless increases, what you resist persists. And the quickest way to turn an obstacle into an opportunity is to bless it as though it were already your friend. Think of it like a package wrapped in ugly paper. You look at the wrapping and say, "This is worthless." But inside is a treasure. If you throw it away because of the wrapping, you lose the gift. But if you open it, if you look beyond the outer disguise, you find the wealth inside. So it is with obstacles. They are gifts in rough packaging. They are blessings camouflaged as burdens. Let me ask you, have you faced obstacles lately? Has a door slammed, a bill appeared, a problem risen? Instead of saying, "This is against me," try saying, "This is my opportunity in disguise. This is my sign that wealth is moving." Refuse to fear, refuse to complain. Cast the burden, and watch the disguise fall away. You may find that the very thing you thought was your enemy was your servant, carrying the key to your supply. So mark this well. When trouble rises after you have spoken your word, do not despair. Do not think the law has failed. On the contrary, this is the sign that the law is working. This is the proof that the old is breaking and the new is entering. The obstacle is your signpost. Walk through it, and you will find wealth waiting on the other side. And once you see this, once you learn to bless the obstacle, you will be ready for the third great outer sign, the sudden collapse of delay. For many times, after long waiting, nothing seems to move, and then suddenly, everything happens at once. The logjam breaks, the blessing rushes in, and that, beloved, is the next sign. We will unfold together. There is a rhythm in spirit, a movement in divine law that may appear slow to the human eye, but in truth it is exact, it is precise, it is swift when the appointed moment arrives. Many people speak their word, they affirm faithfully, they hold their ground, and yet for a season it seems nothing moves. The sky looks blank, the ground looks hard, the channels seem blocked. They say, "Florence, I have spoken the word, but I see no change, perhaps the law has failed me." But I tell you, the law cannot fail. The seed is germinating in the invisible. The channels are being prepared behind the scenes, and when the moment is ripe, the delay collapses in an instant, and all that seemed slow bursts forth with sudden swiftness. It is as though a dam has broken, as though a logjam has given way, and the flood rushes in at once. Think of a stream choked with timber. For days it appears motionless, hopelessly blocked. Then one day a single log, the kingpin, is shifted, and the whole mass begins to move, flowing freely, powerfully, irresistibly. So it is with your affairs. One thought, one decree, one shift in your subconscious can dislodge the kingpin of delay, and suddenly everything changes. The door that was closed opens. The check that was withheld arrives. The opportunity that was stagnant bursts into life. People will look at you and say, "How quickly everything happened for you." But you will know that the sudden collapse of delay was not accident, it was the sign that your word had taken full hold. I recall the story of a man who sold apples. For days, no one bought from him. He stood in gloom, declaring silently, "Business is dead." His face grew grim, his energy low, his expectancy dark. Then someone reminded him, "You must change your expression, you must declare differently." He obeyed. He lifted his face, he smiled, he spoke within himself, "My apples are irresistible, my good is flowing, customers cannot pass me by." In that instant, a shift occurred. People began to stop, one after another, until his apples were sold. Nothing had changed outwardly, the fruit was the same, the street was the same, but the inner logjam had broken. The collapse of delay had come. This is how spirit works. The outer world is only the shadow of the inner. When the inner thought shifts, the outer condition must collapse and reform. Delay is not denial. Delay is accumulation. Delay is the building of momentum behind the scenes, and when the unseen work is complete, it collapses at once into form. That collapse is your sign. When things begin to move quickly, when opportunities cluster, when wealth flows in with speed, know that the long delay has dissolved, and your demonstration is here. So I tell you, do not despise delay. Do not curse the waiting. Use it as a time to deepen your faith, to strengthen your affirmations, to prepare your ditches. And when the delay collapses, you will be ready to receive the flood. The sign of suddenness is one of the surest proofs that spirit has moved. It may look as though nothing is happening for months, and then in 1 week, everything breaks open. Expect it, rejoice in it, for this is the way of spirit. And remember this, appearances of slowness are only shadows. The law does not lag, the harvest is never late. The subconscious works in silence until the shift is made, and then everything comes together in perfect timing. Trust the law, expect the collapse, rejoice in the suddenness. For when wealth arrives, it often comes not gradually but in a rush, like the tide sweeping in at high moon. And now, having seen the outer signs, the unexpected twist, the obstacle carrying opportunity, the sudden collapse of delay, we must go still higher. For beyond the inner whispers and outer events, there are signs written into the very fabric of spiritual law itself. They are recorded in Scripture, they are woven into parables, they are eternal metaphors of the way spirit moves. And when you see them, you will know without a doubt that your supply is certain. That is the next layer we must unfold together. There is a sign older than history itself, written in the Scriptures, painted in symbols so clear that no one who sees it can mistake the meaning. It is the fall of the walls of Jericho. When Joshua and the children of Israel approached the Promised Land, they faced a city fortified. walls high and impenetrable, gates shut tight, defenses that seemed impossible to break. To the reasoning mind, the walls meant defeat. To the eye of faith, the walls meant only this: the blessing was close, the promise was near, the inheritance was waiting. For obstacles are always at their highest just before the victory, and the walls of Jericho are the sign that wealth is ready to break forth. The command of spirit was strange. They were told not to attack, not to batter, not to force. They were told to march in silence, to blow the trumpets, to lift their voices in praise. And as they obeyed, as they spoke not of the walls but of the victory, as they kept their rhythm, as they lifted their faith, the walls collapsed of themselves. They did not crumble because of human strength. They fell because of divine law. The outer obstacle yielded to the inner decree, and so it is in your life. When you see walls rising, bills stacking, obstacles looming, appearances shouting impossible, do not despair, rejoice. For the very presence of walls is the sign that your Jericho, your promised land, your wealth is already at hand. I once counseled a student who saw walls rising all around her. Debts multiplied, opportunities dried up, her path looked blocked in every direction. She said, "Florence, I have never faced such walls. Surely this means my affirmations have failed." I told her, "No, this means your affirmations are working. The walls are proof that your victory is near. March around them with praise. Declare, the walls of lack and delay crumble away, and I enter into my promised wealth." She obeyed. She refused to speak of the walls. She spoke only of the victory. And in a short time, the debts were cleared, the channels opened, and she walked free. Her Jericho fell. Do you see the sign? When your life looks most fortified against you, when lack builds its walls high, when appearances grow loud and threatening, it is not the end. It is the sign that the blessing is closest. The walls are not there to defeat you. They are there to be collapsed by your word. Each affirmation is a trumpet blast. Each declaration is a march around the wall. Each shout of thanksgiving shakes the foundation of lack until it falls of itself. So when you face your Jericho, do not strike with fear. Do not complain. Do not weep. Do what Joshua did. March in faith. Praise in advance. Blow the trumpet of your word, and the walls cannot stand. They must collapse, and when they do, you will see that what once looked like the greatest obstacle was only the final sign that your promised wealth was ready to appear. And once you understand this, you will see another sign written in the scriptures, the opening of the Red Sea. For just as the walls fall before victory, so the sea parts when the way looks closed. This too is the law, and this too is the sign of wealth pressing through. Another sign that wealth is near is written in the mighty story of the Red Sea. The children of Israel had been delivered from bondage, but as they marched toward freedom, they came face to face with a sea that barred their path. Behind them thundered Pharaoh's chariots, enemies pressing hard. Before them stretched the waters, wide and impossible to cross. To the reasoning mind, it was checkmate, death behind, despair ahead. And the people cried out in fear, saying, "Why has God brought us here to perish?" But Moses knew the law. He lifted his rod, he stretched forth his hand, and the sea parted, making a dry road, where no road had ever been. The very waters that looked like death became the channel of deliverance. The impossibility became the sign that supply was at hand. So it is in your life. Just when you declare wealth, just when you affirm freedom, just when you are poised to step into abundance, the Red Sea rises before you, a wall of bills, a mountain of debt, a closed market, a frozen opportunity, a circumstance that looks utterly impossible. You say, "Florence, there is no way through." But I tell you, the very presence of the Red Sea is your sign that a way will open where no way has been. Spirit makes a road in the sea, rivers in the desert, channels out of impossibility. The very obstacle becomes your passage, the very impossibility your proof that wealth is already pressing into sight. I recall a student who came to me, pressed to the wall. Rent was due, no money in sight. Her mind trembled at the impossibility. I told her, "Do not fear, this is your Red Sea. Say instead, God makes a way where there is no way. My rent is paid in full under grace, in perfect ways." She obeyed. She ceased rehearsing fear. She lifted her rod of affirmation. She stretched her hand of faith, and in the most astonishing way, the supply appeared through a channel she never could have planned. The Red Sea had parted. The impossibility had dissolved. You see, the Red Sea is not a punishment. It is the announcement that your deliverance is near. Spirit often allows the situation to ripen until it looks utterly hopeless, so that when the way opens, you will know beyond doubt that it was not man but God who delivered you. This is why I tell my students, rejoice when the situation looks most impossible. Rejoice when the bills tower, when the path looks closed, when enemies press hard. For you are standing at the edge of the Red Sea, and that is the sign your miracle is about to be revealed. Lift your rod, speak your word, stretch forth your hand in faith, do not beg, do not weep, declare. God makes a way where there is no way. My supply is immediate and endless. I walk through on dry ground. Say it until you believe it. Say it until you feel the waters parting before you. And soon, the impossible will open, the bills will be paid, the debt will be dissolved, the opportunity will appear. The sea will part, and you will walk through in freedom. And remember this, the very waters that parted for the Israelites drowned their enemies. So too in your life. The obstacle that opens for you will close against every threat. The way that delivers you will dissolve the very fears that chased you. The Red Sea is both passage and protection, both path and proof. So mark it well. When life looks most impossible, when the path seems closed, rejoice. That is your Red Sea. And it is your sign that Spirit is about to do the impossible in your affairs. And now, having seen the walls fall and the seas open, I will show you another spiritual sign, one that appears again and again in Scripture and in life, the midnight hour. For it is at midnight, when the night is deepest, that the cry comes, the bridegroom appears, and the blessing bursts forth. That, beloved, is the next sign we must unfold. There is a mystery written into the very pattern of life, and it is this: the darkest hour comes just before the dawn. Scripture tells us, at midnight there was a cry, behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Midnight is not only the deepest night, it is also the turning point. It is the moment when one day ends and another begins. It is the place where darkness reaches its peak and then light is born. So it is with your wealth, with your supply, with every demonstration you are calling into form. Just when the hour looks most desperate, just when the shadow seems deepest, just when appearances are most alarming, there comes the cry, the signal, the call, the sudden proof that your blessing is here. Most people misunderstand. Midnight. They tremble. They despair. They say, it is too late. My good will never come. But I tell you, midnight is the sign that your miracle is already at hand. Midnight means the cycle is complete. Midnight means the birth is near. Midnight means the word you have spoken has pressed through every level of resistance and is about to appear. The cry at midnight is the signal that the blessing cannot be delayed another moment. I recall a student who longed for travel but had no money, no prospects, no visible means. She held the vision, she affirmed daily, but time passed and nothing seemed to change. Finally, she bought a trunk in faith, though she had nowhere to go. Her friends laughed at her. Why buy a trunk when you cannot travel? But she smiled and said, I am preparing for my journey. Soon after, just when her situation looked most hopeless, money appeared in the most unexpected way, and she traveled abroad. Her midnight had come, and with it the cry, behold, the bridegroom cometh. The trunk was her lamp filled with oil, her expectancy at the midnight hour. This is why Jesus spoke the parable of the 10 virgins. Some were wise, their lamps filled with oil, their expectancy burning bright. Others were foolish, unprepared, doubting, empty. When the cry came at midnight, only the wise were ready to enter. What is the oil in the lamp? It is faith, it is expectancy. It is the inner certainty that even in the darkest hour, the blessing is on the way. If your lamp is filled, if your expectancy is steady, you will not miss the cry, you will not faint in delay. You will be ready to step into the blessing when the door opens. So let me ask you, has your life reached midnight? Are you facing your darkest hour, debts pressing, doors closing, friends failing, strength fading? If so, rejoice, for this is the sign, this is the signal. Midnight is not the end, it is the turning point. Midnight is the moment the cry is heard, behold, your supply is here. Do not let your lamp go out now. Fill it with faith, fill it with gratitude, fill it with expectancy. Say, Even in this darkness, I know my blessing is at hand. And when the cry comes, it often comes suddenly. A letter arrives, a phone rings, an offer appears, a door swings open. What seemed impossible at 11 o'clock is delivered at midnight. What seemed hopeless at dusk is solved at dawn. The shift is sudden because the cycle is complete. The night cannot hold back the morning. So remember, do not faint in the midnight hour. Do not say, "It is too late." Say instead, "This is my sign, my dawn is here. The cry has gone forth, and my wealth is at hand." Hold fast, and you will see that midnight was not your defeat but your signal of victory. And now, having seen the spiritual signs, the walls that crumble, the sea that parts, the midnight cry, we must learn the final art: how to hold steady once the signs appear, how to guard your lips, how to walk in dominion until the wealth is fully in your hands. That, beloved, is the last step we will now take together. Now that you have seen the signs, now that you have understood the shaking before the blessing, the whisper within, the unexpected without, the spiritual patterns that announce the miracle, you must know this final law. You must guard your lips and the gate of your mind until your wealth is safely in your hands. For even after the signs appear, even after the dawn breaks, it is possible to delay or weaken the demonstration if you allow idle words, careless thoughts, or fearful decrees to creep back in. The word you spoke has power, yes. The seed you planted is growing, yes. The signs prove the harvest is near, yes. But the field must still be protected, the garden must still be watched. The gate must still be guarded. Jesus spoke this truth with piercing clarity. Every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof. Why? Because every word is a prophetic seed. Every word carries creative force. And while one affirmation spoken with power can move mountains, a dozen careless words of fear can scatter weeds into the same field. Many undo with their lips what they have built with their prayers. They affirm abundance in the morning, then tell a friend at lunch, "I don't know how I'll ever get out of this mess." They declare wealth in their room, then complain of lack in the street. They speak faith one hour and doubt the next. And then they cry, "The law has failed me." But the law has not failed, they have failed to guard the gate. I once counseled a man who longed for success. He affirmed faithfully, he worked with expectancy, and the signs began to appear. But at the dinner table each evening, he poured out every fear to his family. He spoke of failure, of trouble, of obstacles. His lips rehearsed the very defeat he was trying to escape. I told him, "You must stop. You are scattering weeds into your own garden. Guard your lips. Let your watchman stand at the gate. Speak only what you want multiplied." He obeyed. He refused to discuss failure. He held his tongue when tempted to complain. He spoke only truth, only abundance, only expectancy. And soon his affairs prospered. The demonstration was sealed, not by new affirmations, but by guarding the ones he had already spoken. So I say to you, set a watchman at the gate of your mind. When a thought of fear approaches, challenge it. Say, "You cannot enter, you are a lie, I erase you." When your lips are tempted to utter complaint, silence them. When gossip invites you to speak of trouble, refuse it. Let nothing enter your garden that does not serve your harvest. Protect your word until the fruit is in your hand. Think of it this way. If you had planted a rare seed in your garden, would you allow children to trample it, weeds to choke it, animals to dig it up? No. You would guard it carefully until it sprouted strong. So it is with your affirmations. Guard them. Do not let careless chatter uproot them. Do not let fear trample them. Do not let resentment poison them. Keep the watchman at the gate until your harvest is full. And remember, guarding the gate is not a work of fear, it is a work of dominion. You are not trembling, desperate to hold on to your wealth. You are standing as a ruler, refusing to allow anything untrue to enter your kingdom. You are speaking only truth, living only truth, commanding only truth. That is the posture of dominion. And that is the final sign that your demonstration is secure. Now let us go to the summit of the teaching. For once you have guarded your lips, you must walk in your true position dominion. Wealth is not your master. You are its master. Money is not your ruler. You are the ruler. This is the last step, the crowning truth, the posture of one who not only receives wealth but reigns over it. Now I tell you of the highest posture you must hold once the signs have appeared and the harvest is near. It is not trembling, it is not begging, it is not pacing the floor in anxiety, it is dominion. Dominion is your true nature, your divine right, the crown placed upon you as a child of God. You were never made to bow to money, never made to be enslaved by circumstances, never made to tremble before appearances. You were made to command, you were made to rule. You were made to speak the word and see it established. And if you will stand in dominion during the waiting, during the final stretch between sign and manifestation, your wealth will come swiftly and surely, without fear, without delay, without loss. Most people collapse in the waiting. They see the signs, they feel the expectancy, but when the last stretch grows dark, they faint. They beg, they complain, they hand their crown to fear. But you must do the opposite. You must lift your head higher, steady your heart firmer, fix your words sharper. You must say, I rule my world. Nothing rules me. My wealth is mine by divine right, and nothing can keep it from me. I walk in dominion. I am not a servant to appearances. I am a master over them. When you speak in this way, when you carry yourself as though you already possess the abundance you have called for, the world rearranges itself to obey you. I once counseled a woman who longed for marriage and a happy home. Her heart was entangled with a man who mistreated her. When he left, she fell into despair, convinced her dream was destroyed. I told her, you must not live in hurt. You must not bow to fear. Stand in dominion. Say, I am immune to hurt and resentment. My poise is built on a rock, the Christ within. I cannot be shaken. She obeyed. She ceased to weep, ceased to beg, ceased to rehearse sorrow. She stood in dominion, declaring her good. And in time, the man returned, transformed, repentant, ready for union. They married, and she had the home she desired. But mark this well, it was not her pleading that restored him. It was her dominion. The moment she refused to be ruled by appearances, the outer world bent to her inner law, so it must be with you. Do not wait as a beggar, peering through the window, wringing your hands, wondering if the meal will come. Wait as a ruler seated at your own table, knowing the feast is already prepared, the servants already carrying it, the banquet already yours. Hold the consciousness of dominion, and the outer world must deliver what the inner world has decreed. And remember, dominion is not domination. You are not to trample others. You are not to seize what belongs to your neighbor. True dominion is mastery over yourself, your thoughts, your words, your emotions, your reactions. For when you govern yourself with truth, the world has no choice but to reflect your order. The outer is only the shadow of the inner. Rule the inner, and the outer bows to you. So walk now in dominion. Say daily, I walk as wealth, I think as wealth, I speak as wealth, I live as wealth. Refuse to bow to fear. Refuse to entertain doubt. Refuse to speak words that contradict your truth. Let your very posture declare, I am supplied. I am secure. I am victorious. And soon, the wealth you have spoken, the signs you have seen, the dawn you have expected, will materialize before your eyes. Now, beloved, we come to the end of the journey. We have walked through the shaking, the whispers, the obstacles, the collapses, the walls, the seas, the midnight cry, the guarding of the lips, and now the crown of dominion. Only one step remains. To gather all of this truth into one final charge, one great affirmation, one closing decree that seals this message in your soul and points you to the next revelation. Beloved, we have walked far together in this message. We began with the startling truth that before wealth arrives, Spirit always sends a sign. I told you that most people miss these signs, and because they miss them, they lose heart, they give up, they faint in the very hour when the blessing is nearest. But you will not faint, for now you know the language of Spirit. You know how to read the signs. You know how to rejoice in the storm, how to recognize the whisper, how to bless the obstacle, how to expect the midnight cry, how to guard your lips, and how to walk in dominion until the harvest is in your hand. Let me tell you again in one sweep what these signs are, so you will never forget. First, the shaking before the blessing. The old falls apart. Doors close, darkness deepens, and instead of despairing you say, this is proof my wealth is at the door. Then come the inner signs. The whisper of intuition guiding your steps, the joy without cause lifting your spirit, the holy expectancy filling your heart with certainty. Then the outer signs. the unexpected twist that opens channels, the obstacle that hides opportunity, the sudden collapse of delay that floods your life with answered prayer. And above them all, the spiritual signs written in Scripture, the walls that fall, the seas that part, the midnight cry that announces the bridegroom. And finally, the signs of character, the guarded lips that refuse to speak defeat, the watchman at the gate of the mind, and the posture of dominion that rules instead of trembles. These are the signs that wealth is not far, not uncertain, not delayed, but near, certain, and already prepared. So the next time you pray and appearances grow worse, rejoice. The next time your heart lifts without reason, rejoice. The next time a door shuts in your face, rejoice. The next time intuition whispers, rejoice. For these are not random, they are Spirit's messengers, saying, your supply is already here. Now I give you a final affirmation, and I ask you not to merely repeat it, but to speak it with rhythm, with power, with thanksgiving, until it lives in your heart and breath. I recognize the signs. I rejoice in the signs. They prove that my wealth is near. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. Say it now. Say it again. Say it until the very walls of lack fall before you, until the seas of impossibility part, until the cry at midnight wakes you with joy. And let me leave you with this. Do not stop here. For there is a law even deeper than the signs, a law that not only reveals wealth's approach but accelerates it, compresses delay into suddenness, makes blessings arrive overnight, as though by miracle. In my next message, I will open that hidden law. Do not miss it. Click now and discover the secret that makes supply come suddenly, swiftly, in perfect ways. Go forth now, armed with this knowledge. Watch for the signs, rejoice in them, and walk through every open door. The signs have spoken, the wealth is at hand.